Alright, so here we go. Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 1, Season 3 premiere. What did I think of it? Well, I thought it was quite good. I mean, the show it never fails to impress, and that was actually something I was thinking about when I watched it. So I watched it yesterday, and I'm Wednesday, and I'm recording this Thursday, and something I really, thought about when watching this was how does this show maintain this quality? How does it show maintain as good quality as it is? The reality is, for a lot of the shows, season three, I mean, for how long it's been around and for how much pressure, the show is put under to perform, a lot of shows would crack under that pressure and you would sort of see a steady decline in the show's quality as it wears on. But I can't say I felt that way about both season two and this first episode of the show. It's just, I don't know, it just manages to be consistently good. So, to get into more details, I mean, the plot, it wasn't like, the plot did what it had to do, right? Like, it set up everything it has to do. So now everything is put in place. So the rest of the episodes can take this away, and sort of do everything it wants to do. Um, right, so now we know what Mando has been up to in between Boba Fett and now. I mean, kinda. I mean, really, I was gonna say between seasons 2 and 3, but Boba Fett turned into Mandalorian season 2.5, which I found a bit weird. But so we know where he is now, and we know what he wants to do, right? So his goal is to, uh, he wants to revive the droid to go to Mandalore to be a Mandalorian. And so it sets up all that perfectly well as tying into the thing, the everything to do with the black saber at the end, which I have to say, I still find it hilarious. So I've been watching the Clone Wars in between season 2 and 3, but its appearance in the end of the Mandalorian season 2 is my first introduction to it. And something I immediately thought of, like after watching that episode, as good as that episode was this dark saber is exactly like the Elder Wand. It literally, the rules are like exactly the same. It is quite hilarious that I'm assuming Clone Wars is the first use of it, that they just put in the Elder Wand as a black lightsaber. I find that really funny, but like, so it sets up where that is, where he is now and how that's still important because he still has the Elder Wand, the Elder Wand of Mandalore, and so yeah, I thought it did a good job there. So the opinion of it has sort of gone down for me a little bit since yesterday. So this is, like I said, I'm recording this a full day after I watched it. And while it's still really solid, I sort of come to the conclusion it didn't blow me out of the park. And this is one of the episodes, I mean, it's an introductory episode, but it really depends on where it's going. How this episode will depend so much on how it resolves these plot points, right? Because this is all set up, all about resolving the plot points and showing the planet from season one and how it changed. That's really what this episode is about. And so, if, by the end of the season, we look back on this, and the plots are all resolved really well, everything was handled great, we can look back on this episode and say, yeah, like, this was a great way to set it up. And at the same time, if it doesn't do that, this episode will just come off as missed potential. And so, it's sort of hard to judge this on its own. But for what it was really good. And so the biggest complaint I have is, I don't remember if they appeared in seasons 1 and 2, but the pirates. Like I said, so I've been watching Clone Wars in between when season 2 of Mandalorian and season 3 came out. And so I'm on season 3 now, and obviously, in that show you have a fair amount of dealings with pirates, with the pirates, and I really liked something that I didn't know, like I really enjoyed in Clone Wars that I feel like didn't translate into live action as well, was a lot of the subtlety and the expressions you get from having it be a cartoon, and when they you're kind of missing in um, the live action, because like it's all just CGI, you know. Um, but what was I gonna say? Yeah, like because like with pirates, because they're pirates, they're traitors, they betray everybody and everything like that. But you sort of get like the subtlety of like pirates still cares about their word at least a tiny bit. They still care about their word and they care about their reputation, even if it's just that little. So and sometimes to certain people too. So you sort of get these subtleties in the way they deliver lines and the way they look, where the pirates want you to appear one way, but you see a bit more of a subtlety going on there. And I felt like, I mean, obviously, in this episode, they were just pirates to be destroyed, and then you have that guy who reminded me of Swamp Thing at the end, um, you know, threatening him. But so they'll probably come back later. But I sort of felt like in Clone Wars, you really got a lot of these subtleties with the pirates that you just didn't get here. But obviously, they were really just here to set up Swamp Thing looking dude, and to just have that cool scene, which that scene was great, by the way. That is the best part of the episode, was that scene, which somehow both remind me of Han saying this. Assume I insert the clip of him saying, uh, never tell me the odds. Um, and, and that level from Star Fox 64. I mean, if you've played that game, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like the second level in the game where you're going through an asteroid field, and like that was sick, and it was so cool, and it was great to sort of be like, like, don't, um, what's the phrase? Or like don't get asked for a wish if you don't plan on getting it, right? Like here's a Mandolarian, and he's gonna kill you, right? Like what do you expect? And so that was really really fun, and it sort of feels like I don't feel like we've gotten a lot of really like cool and epic space fight scenes in Star Wars recently. I mean, I'm not that big a fan of the sequels or the prequels, but like I'm trying to think of like a big scene there, like a big fight scene. I guess like in The Last Jedi, you have that like opening which leads to Mary Poppins, Princess Leia. Uh, but like I can't really think of the last like really cool space battle. I just lean towards the original two. I mean, um, in A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. Um, so it's cool. Like it's cool to see these cool space battles. And so yeah, I mean that's really it. It did its job. I'm excited to watch more next week. And so quickly, because this is episode 1, I'm going to make some predictions. Oh, also, actually, before I do that, one thing I wanted to touch on is that I think it's great character development. And this is when I like really good character development. And I've sort of been thinking about this a lot with Doctor Who seasons 11 through 13. I'm not really going to talk about it now, but there's no subtlety in their character development, and so it's so refreshing to see such subtle character development here, with Mando wanting to bring back the droid, and I really really like that, because to me it made me sad about I Have Spoken guy dying, because that's what it really reminded me of, is that Mando he didn't trust droids, and then in the season 1 finale, he didn't trust that, um, this droid has changed from assassin droid to a medical droid could actually be a medical droid and could be different. But then of course, the medical droid saves his life twice, and so I sort of feel like him wanting to revive it shows a lot of trust. It shows that he trusts not just the medical droid, but I have spoken guy in that he believes him that he did change the droid and that things can change, and you know to show like this character sort of progression. It's a good way of showing his progression from season 1, and that he goes from not trusting anything to now completely like trusting his old friend essentially. And now what he did, and it sort of feels like I think a bit of it is that like this is his legacy, and so it'd be nice for it to not be dead. Especially because spoiler alert for season 1, this is the way guy died. So yeah, so anyway, I really like that, and now I'm going to do some predictions. So if the black saber Darth whatever it's called, I don't remember, the Elder Wand, I'm just going to call it, if I can't remember its name, I'm just going to call it the Elder Wand. So the Elder Wand is obviously going to come back. We didn't really see him use it in this episode. Actually, no, we didn't see. Yeah. Just fine, go with that. But we didn't see him use it in this episode, but it's going to come back. And I think that lady, which I'm trying to remember, I have to rewatch her episode in season 2 to remember, because I don't remember if she was like a part of Death Watch. Obviously now that I've been watching Clone Wars, I know what that is. But, so it's something like I have to remember, whatever. The lady he visits in the castle, she's going to come back, and she's going to try to take the Darksaber from him, because she does not seem that happy that he has the Elder Wand and that she can't do what he wants because Mando has the Elder Wand. So that's my attempt. That's my guess, is that she's going to come back and try to kill him, and Mando is either going to give it up, because, if it is like the Elder Wand, and actually it is shown to be it, because Mando wins the Darksaber by beating Moff Gideon in combat, not by killing him, which means I think Mando may give it up, or he may let her have it, and then she's going to be corrupted by the power and probably die, because the Elder Wand was called a Deathly Hallow for a reason. Prediction number 2, I think Mando is not going to renew his faith as a Mandalorian, and I know that may sound crazy to say, but I really like that idea at the end of season 2 when Mando's thinking about taking off his helmet to save Grogu, in that face recognition thing, where they're infiltrating the Empire, and that guy, I don't remember his name, is a comedian, whatever, assassin, was like, you don't need a code. Essentially, he was like, you don't need a code to be a Mandalorian, right? What makes you a Mandalorian is like what you choose to live by. It's not whether you've taken off your helmets or some other people. Like, that doesn't define, those arbitrary rules don't define who you are. And so I really like that idea, and I hope, and I have a good bet that this is what's going to happen, is that Mando's going to get to the Springs, and he's going to sort of realize this, that I can be a Mandalorian the way I want to be a Mandalorian, me taking off my helmet to show how much I care, I care about Grogu does not make me any less of a Mandalorian. And so I think that's where we're headed for his character arc, and so that will be interesting to see. Obviously, Swamp Thing is going to come back. He's probably going to try to kill him. I'm trying to think what other guesses I had. I don't really remember what they were, but those were the big ones. Obviously, he's going to get the droid back. That one seems obvious. That seems like a mid-season thing. this season's going to be 8 episodes long, then in episode 4, they're going to bring him back. And so, well, I guess, will we make any other major appearances? I would expect, Luke, okay, so I'm going to make another prediction. I would expect Luke and or Ahsoka to make another appearance in this season. That just seems pretty logical. I guess you could say maybe not because Grogu abandoned his training, but I don't think they're done at all. I'm sure there's more to come, especially because Ahsoka has a solo series coming out. It's supposed to be coming out at some point. So I imagine that they'll want to tie into it a little bit, like how they used season 2 to tie into Boba Fett. I would be surprised if they don't take this opportunity to set up Ahsoka, or maybe, I don't know, if CGI Luke is getting a show, which, I mean, I'd be down for. I would, as long as they, I mean, the CGI looked much better in Boba Fett than it did in Mandalorian. But I'm always down for more Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, so that would be nice. But whatever, I could see them making an appearance even if it's brief. And maybe we'll get another surprise Star Wars character. I wouldn't bet on it. With how much Harrison Ford wanted to distance himself from Star Wars, I wouldn't expect to see him. And so I don't know who else we get, really. Maybe Lando? They get a reverse CGI Lando? I don't know. But I guess we'll wait and see. Maybe we won't have another surprise appearance. I would be surprised if that's the case, but who knows? These people seem to really have a good grasp of what they're doing and not just throwing in surprise people just for, the surprise and nostalgia factor. Luke was great, but obviously he has an important and great part of the story. And so we'll see what happens. But yeah, so that's everything I got to say on the matter. So if you want to see more, like, sub. I don't know why I didn't like hands for both, but yeah. So next episode comes out next Wednesday. Plan to do a review of that one too, and I'll probably do a full season review. In terms of any other stuff I'm reviewing, I'm thinking about maybe doing Creed 3, but I don't really know right now. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, I already said it, but stay tuned for more. All right, peace.